This is John Brower Minnick, the heaviest person to ever live on planet Earth. And before you ask, yes, he was American. Born on September 29th, 1941 in Seattle, Washington, by the time he was an adult, he reached the peak human weight of 1,400 pounds. At 6'1", his tiny 110-pound wife and himself actually hold the largest weight disparity between a married couple, since he was over 12 times her weight. After his health started to diminish, he wanted to turn his life around, and it took 14 firefighters to remove him from his home and transfer him to the UW Medical Center. Here, he went on one of the most rigorous weight loss journeys to ever happen, where the hospital put him on a 1,200 calorie diet and a heavy amount of diuretics. This was an extreme process, but it led to him losing over 900 pounds in 2 years, which was the largest amount of weight ever lost by a human at the time. And he's still top 3, and he's not number 3. Sadly, by the end of his life, he started to gain weight again, and died at around 800 pounds in 1983. John was so big, and such an anomaly at the time, his extra large casket took up 2 burial spots in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery in Seattle. As for the second heaviest person to ever live, they're actually still alive. Khalid bin Masen Shari reached a peak of 1,370 pounds, and was the person to take the top spot from John as the person that lost the most ever weight in human history. And believe it or not, he lost 1,220 pounds, and now weighs a surprising 150 pounds. And he looks pretty happy too. But yeah, there may never be another person to ever challenge John for his title. Cicadas are about to ruin America. This April, a 13-year cycle and a 17-year cycle brood of cicadas will sync up to create a super brood, where billions of cicadas will emerge from the ground when they sense warmth. These are the areas of the US that will experience this brood, but sadly, it will be worse in Illinois, as it has the most dense mixture of 13-year and 17-year broods. This so-called Swarmageddon happens every 221 years, and its last occurrence was in 1803. To remind you what they do, 13 years ago and 17 years ago, broods were born and buried into the ground where they've been living. Yes, there's teenager cicadas right now, but the biggest party of their lives are coming up, where they all come above ground, clamp onto something, and jump out of their molts. They'll now have wings and they'll be able to fly around, and most importantly, make this constant loud and annoying noise. Because this is a double brood, more of the US will have these scattered everywhere, and some people actually have an entomophobia reaction, stringing from their fear of insects, even though they're just molts. So if you have cicada anxiety or entomophobia towards cicada shells, 2024 is just not the year for you.
You won't believe the insane plot twist at the end of this story. In June 1944, during the heat of World War II, American military forces stationed in the Pacific Ocean focused their attacks on the Japanese island of Chichijima. They believed that taking this island, which was only 500 miles away from Japan, would give them an upper hand in potentially trying to end the war. However, this would prove to be no easy task, as the island was protected by over 25,000 Japanese soldiers. This made invading the island pretty complicated for the Americans. However, in September, they geared up for one final try. A group of about a dozen US pilots flew their planes into Chichijima in hopes to take down the radio tower once and for all. However, during their attempt, all of the planes got shot down. A few men died on impact, however 9 pilots were lost at sea. 8 of the survivors were captured and killed by the Japanese, and there were even reports of cannibalism. The 9th pilot who was rescued by the Americans was named George H.W. Bush.
Phone numbers you should never call, part 15. This is the first phone number. This phone number was a human experiment during the World War II. They designed specific sentences to test how sound affected people in negative ways. So when you call this number, you will hear those sentences, which sound like a disturbing poem recited by both male and female voices. This is the next phone number. If you call this phone number after midnight, you will be granted a wish. Once they pick up the phone, you just have to whisper your wish, but there will be a price. And the price is that you will be killed after some time. This is the next phone number. These type of numbers are extremely popular in Japan, and they allow you to talk with your doppelganger, and it is said that it can be a death curse. This is the next phone number. This is Murray's phone number from Stranger Things. When you call this number, you will first hear Murray yelling about his mother, then he'll talk to Joyce and finally leave a disturbing message to you. This is the last phone number. This is the SCP number. When you call it, a voicemail will inform you that you have reached the SCP Foundation, and it will instruct you to leave the date, time, location, and a description of any incidents that you may have witnessed.
This video proves that skinwalkers are real. In the Navajo Native American culture, Skinwalkers are believed to be shape-shifting witches that take the form of animals. And as the legend goes, these creatures are dangerous spirits. Many people in North America have reported seeing these skinwalkers in real life, and there's even movies and TV shows about them. There are hundreds of videos online claiming to have caught a skinwalker on camera. However, this home security camera footage caught something very disturbing. The video at first appears to be pretty normal, just showing a family's backyard pool. But if you look closely to the right of their basketball hoop, it appears that some strange-looking creature is climbing the fence to their backyard. The creature looks to have a humanoid-like torso, head, and arms. And all it does is just climb up the fence and look around the backyard. If we take a closer look, we can see that the creature definitely appears to look like a human being. And just a few seconds later, the creature vanishes.
Morbid Space Facts Part 1. The Drake Equation. It is used to calculate how many alien civilizations we have in our galaxy. The exact number is up for debate, but almost every scientist believes that there are a ton of aliens out there. But this leads to the creation of the Fermi paradox, which asks us why we haven't been able to find them. Phoenix A is the largest black hole ever discovered. Its predecessor in size was this guy. And this up here is our galaxy. And we are just a tiny dot within this galaxy. Now compare Phoenix A to our Milky Way. If we scale things down to something more earthly, so let's say the sun is 3 feet in diameter, then the size of the Earth would be a tiny ball bearing, and Phoenix A would have a diameter of 240 miles. So compare that to a tiny ball. You should know. Simply the discovery of this black hole forced us to use a whole new definition for black holes, which is ultramassive. Yes, we're still talking about black holes.
This photo shows 41-year-old Stephen Plattle marrying his 19-year-old daughter Katie, who is pregnant with his child. Katie had been previously given up for adoption after her mother Alyssa realized that Stephen was physically abusing their daughter. But in 2016, Katie, who's now 18 years old, wanted to reconnect with her biological parents and actually ends up moving in with them. But after some time, Alyssa realizes that her husband is acting very differently and is even starting to dress better. She decides to ignore this change in behavior until 2017, when Katie gets pregnant and the father is her father. Alyssa immediately divorces Stephen, and just 2 months later, he and Katie are set to get married and give birth to a baby boy. Both the parents attend the wedding and support the marriage until 2018, when Katie begins to see a different side of Stephen. But when she tries to end the relationship, Stephen suffocates their newborn baby and stuffs him inside of a closet. He then proceeds to shoot both Katie and her adoptive dad before turning the gun on himself.
Urban Legends You Wish You Never Knew Part 3. The Catman. This isn't as innocent as it sounds. This urban legend comes from a small suburb in Norway. Legend has it that in the nearest forest, the Catman lived by himself in a hut that he built himself. You'd know if you got close to his hut because he had placed dead cats on stakes all around his area. Some of the cats you would even see pinned on the trees. He supposedly snuck into neighborhoods of the nearby towns between 2 or 3 in the morning, and he would hunt down cats, strip their skin off, eat their flesh, and sell their skin. And he would keep some of the cats to decorate his place. It is said that if you met him, you would instantly freeze from a feeling of impending doom and go insane, because after eating all these cats, he no longer had human eyes, but instead cat eyes. Needless to say, there were several aborted missions to locate his hut in the woods, but when people get to the edge of his field, that makes them want to puke from fear, and they run away.
Blood-curdling facts you did not want to know. Up until 1974, it was illegal to appear in the streets of Chicago if you were ugly. The best way to torture someone and make it as painful as possible is to steam them alive. It takes longer to destroy their nerves, the sensation is hotter than boiling water, and your organs are cooked from the inside out. Cicada syndrome is a mental delusion where you believe that the people around you have been replaced by imposters. The movie The Hills Have Eyes is based on a Scottish group from the 16th century called the Bean Clan. And over the course of 25 years, they killed and ate over 1,000 people. Brains taste like ice cream. If you live in a major city, there is currently a nuclear weapon pointed at you as you're watching this video.